Everyone has counted you out, and every day you stay silent and invisible, they get more comfortable doing it. What I'm showing you today only works in the dark, and it will make them regret every single second they looked away. Most people believe that enemies are obvious. They assume betrayal comes with warning signs like harsh words, open criticism, or confrontational behavior. That's a fatal mistake. The most dangerous enemies are the ones you never see coming, the ones who smile in your face while undermining you behind your back. Spotting hidden enemies isn't about catching them red-handed. It's about reading patterns, understanding motives, and observing subtle cues that most people ignore. The first step is to trust your instincts. That little feeling of unease when someone is too agreeable, too eager to please, or unusually quiet is not paranoia. It's a signal your subconscious mind has picked up on. People hide their intentions, but their energy, their behavior, and even small inconsistencies in their actions give them away. Watch for contradictions. Someone might say one thing and do another, claiming loyalty while subtly sabotaging your progress. Hidden enemies rarely make themselves obvious. They create distractions, whisper rumors, or manipulate circumstances so that you appear incompetent without them ever confronting you directly. That's why observation is more powerful than confrontation. Collect information quietly. Pay attention to what they do, not just what they say. Notice who consistently benefits when you face setbacks, who avoids responsibility when things go wrong, and who always seems to be one step ahead of you in subtle ways. Timing and context are everything. Hidden enemies strike when they think they can act without consequences. They watch, wait, and plan, just like you would if you were aiming to take advantage of someone else. By understanding this, you can anticipate their moves and protect yourself before damage occurs. Another key element is emotional detachment. People often spot enemies too late because they are emotionally invested. They want to see the good in everyone, they forgive too quickly, or they assume loyalty because they themselves would act honorably. But human nature is not always fair, and the ones closest to you are often the ones most capable of betrayal. Studying behavior over time is critical. A single suspicious act may not mean much, but patterns are revealing. Pay attention to who disappears when you need support, who subtly shifts blame onto you, or who spreads misinformation under the guise of casual conversation. Hidden enemies rarely announce themselves. They reveal themselves in the small, repeated actions that only careful observation will uncover. Finally, remain strategic. Identifying hidden enemies isn't about confrontation or revenge immediately. It's about creating awareness. Once you recognize who may wish you harm, you gain control over the situation, you adjust your behavior, safeguard your work, and turn potential threats into manageable risks. You learn to operate in a world where loyalty is scarce and every move counts. The power comes from preparation, not reaction. While everyone else is blindsided when betrayal strikes, you already understand the terrain, the players, and the stakes. You become immune to surprise attacks because you anticipated them. Detecting hidden enemies is a skill that separates the average person from the person who thrives in a world full of deception, manipulation, and silent threats. It's the foundation of mastery in any social or professional environment, and it begins with careful observation, emotional discipline, and unwavering attention to detail. Most people believe that reacting immediately is a sign of strength, but in reality, it's the fastest way to reveal your weaknesses. When someone attacks you, betrays you, or undermines you, the first instinct is almost always to respond, defend yourself, justify your actions, or lash out. That is exactly what your enemies expect, and by doing so, you hand them the advantage. Immediate reactions are fueled by emotion, not strategy, and emotion clouds judgment. It makes you predictable, visible, and vulnerable. The ones who survive, and even thrive when everyone is against them, understand that restraint is more powerful than confrontation. Silence and delayed action give you time to observe, analyze, and understand the full picture. By holding back, you force others to expose more of themselves. People underestimate the power of waiting. Every word you speak, every action you take, reveals something about your state of mind, your priorities, and your weaknesses. By refusing to react, you deny your enemies the information they crave. You become the mystery they cannot read, and mystery creates fear and hesitation. Waiting also allows you to choose the timing and method of your response. When you react impulsively, your actions are dictated by the moment, by their attack, rather than by your plan. But when you hold back, you create leverage. You can strike in a controlled, precise way that maximizes impact while minimizing risk. You can turn their aggression against them. Emotional restraint gives you clarity. It allows you to separate your ego from the situation and see the true motives of others. Often, attacks are disguised as casual remarks, subtle manipulations, or indirect criticisms. If you react immediately, you might misinterpret the intent, escalate unnecessarily, or expose yourself to further manipulation. By observing first, you understand not only the attack but also the attacker, their fears, their ambitions, and their patterns. This is the essence of psychological advantage. The ones who never react immediately create a situation where others reveal themselves. People make mistakes when they think you are vulnerable, and those mistakes become your opportunities. You gain insight that would have been invisible if you had reacted in the heat of the moment. Delayed reaction also demonstrates control, authority, and confidence. Those who are calm under pressure appear stronger than they are, because strength is measured not by how loudly you respond, but by how strategically you act. It signals to everyone, friends, enemies, and bystanders, that you are not ruled by impulses and that you cannot be easily provoked. This subtle power shifts the balance in your favor, making others hesitate to challenge you again. Finally, mastering the art of not reacting immediately transforms the way you operate in a world full of betrayal and hidden agendas. It is not passive, it is active strategy. It allows you to conserve energy, think clearly, and act decisively at the exact moment that will produce the maximum effect, while your adversaries remain blind to your intentions, overconfident in their attacks, and exposed for all their weaknesses. Betrayal is one of the most destabilizing forces a person can face. It cuts deep because it comes from someone you trusted, someone whose loyalty you assumed was guaranteed. Most people respond with anger, despair, or desperation, allowing betrayal to weaken them. The truly powerful, however, do something entirely different. They transform betrayal into leverage, into a tool that increases their influence, control, and psychological power. The first step is to understand the nature of betrayal. It is rarely personal in the absolute sense. It is a reflection of someone else's motives, fears, or ambition. When you detach yourself emotionally, you begin to see betrayal not as an attack on you, but as a resource to exploit. This detachment is critical because emotions cloud judgment. Anger leads to rash decisions. Revenge without strategy exposes weakness. The key is observation. Notice the patterns, the circumstances, and the opportunities that betrayal presents. Every act of treachery reveals a hidden truth about the betrayer, their priorities, their insecurities, their methods. By understanding these elements, you gain insight into how others operate, which is invaluable in turning the tables. Next, turn awareness into strategy. When someone betrays you, it is not only a moment of loss, it is a moment of information. You now know who is willing to act against you, and under what conditions. That knowledge allows you to anticipate future moves, plan contingencies, and even manipulate the betrayer in subtle ways. You can create situations where they act predictably, overextend themselves, or expose themselves to consequences they didn't foresee. Another psychological trick is the power of non-reaction combined with selective action. By remaining calm and measured, you let the betrayer underestimate your response. People who betray expect emotional reactions, and when they don't get them, they become disoriented, anxious, and even fearful. Silence becomes a weapon, restraint becomes a shield. Then comes the use of leverage. Betrayal often uncovers weaknesses in systems, relationships, or alliances. By identifying these weak points, you can strengthen your position while others remain unaware of the shifts in power. Sometimes the best move is to appear unaffected publicly, while quietly reorganizing your strategy, your allies, and your approach. This is where psychological transformation occurs. You convert what was meant to harm you into a platform that enhances your influence. Betrayal also teaches adaptability. Those who learn from it adjust their approach to people, situations, and environments in ways that prevent future attacks. Each betrayal becomes a lesson in human behavior, a blueprint for navigating manipulation, deception, and ambition. Finally, those who master this skill do more than survive, they thrive. They turn betrayal into an engine of power. They move with precision, exploiting the opportunities hidden within others' mistakes, and they remain several steps ahead, invisible and untouchable. Betrayal, once internalized as a psychological tool, becomes fuel for calculated actions, strategic alliances, and the careful dismantling of threats. In this way, the very thing that would destroy the average person becomes the foundation of their authority, influence, and Machiavellian mastery over the people around them, giving them an advantage that cannot be measured simply by immediate gains, but by long-term control. One of the most powerful psychological tools in your arsenal is the ability to be underestimated. Most people see it as a weakness, a sign that they are being overlooked, ignored, or dismissed. In reality, being underestimated is a secret weapon. When others assume you are harmless, slow, or incapable, they drop their guard, reveal their strategies, and overextend themselves without realizing the consequences. The key is to manage perception carefully. Appear weaker, less informed, or less ambitious than you truly are. Let people talk, let them act, and let them believe they have the upper hand. This is not about lying. It is about controlling the narrative that others create in their minds. By shaping perception, you set the stage for advantage. The underestimated individual has the luxury of observing freely while others expose their intentions. People rarely guard their actions around someone they think is irrelevant. They whisper, they plot, they maneuver, and in doing so, they reveal everything you need to know to dominate later. Another crucial element is patience. Power is never seized in a moment of rash action. Those who are underestimated can wait, study, and prepare. They move strategically, gathering information, allies, and resources, while others act impulsively and recklessly. When the time comes, they strike with precision, overwhelming opponents who thought they were untouchable. Silence, again, becomes a tool. By not announcing your capabilities, by not demonstrating your ambitions openly, you force others to fill in the gaps with assumptions. And assumptions are often wrong. People will assume incompetence when there is none, laziness when there is preparation, or weakness when there is strategy. This creates a false sense of security in your adversaries, which you can exploit. The psychological impact is devastating. When someone who was underestimated reveals their true strength, confidence, and strategic brilliance, it creates disorientation, fear, and regret in those who misjudged them. It undermines their self-assurance and puts you in a dominant position without a single unnecessary confrontation. Another important tactic is selective revelation. Occasionally allow hints of your capabilities to surface, but never the full picture. Let others catch glimpses of what you are capable of, just enough to keep them guessing and anxious. This uncertainty increases your psychological leverage. It keeps your opponents reactive, unsure, and ultimately vulnerable to your moves. Being underestimated also requires control over emotion and ego. It's natural to feel frustrated when people dismiss you, but frustration leads to premature exposure. To maintain the advantage, you must cultivate patience, humility, and an almost detached awareness. You are playing a long game, and the few moments of discomfort are nothing compared to the power you will wield when the time is right. Finally, domination is not about brute force. It's about strategy, timing, and perception. By being underestimated, you create opportunities to influence, manipulate, and control the environment around you. You turn others' assumptions into your weapon, their complacency into your advantage, and their oversight into your power. When they finally realize what you are capable of, it is too late. They are already trapped in a reality you have carefully constructed, where your dominance is inevitable and their regret is complete. Mastering your reactions is the ultimate skill in a world where deception, betrayal, and hidden agendas are everywhere. Most people are slaves to their emotions. They react instinctively to provocation, insult, or attack, giving away more than they realize. Every argument they engage in, every defensive explanation they offer, is a window into their weaknesses. Those who cannot control themselves become predictable, transparent, and vulnerable to exploitation. The first step in mastering reactions is awareness. You must recognize the triggers that provoke emotional responses: anger, fear, frustration, pride, and understand how these emotions influence your behavior. Once you identify these triggers, you gain the ability to pause, detach, and choose how to act. This is not suppression, it is strategy. It allows you to operate with clarity when others are clouded by impulse. Observation is the natural extension of emotional mastery. By controlling your own reactions, you create the space to watch, listen, and analyze the people around you. You notice inconsistencies, hidden motives, alliances, and vulnerabilities that would otherwise remain invisible in the heat of conflict. Observation becomes your weapon because it gives you foresight. You see patterns before they solidify, intentions before they are carried out, and weaknesses before they are exploited against you. Calculating your next move requires patience. Most people strike too soon. They act impulsively, exposing themselves to retaliation or failure. The one who masters their reactions knows the value of timing. They wait, sometimes for days, weeks, or even months, allowing their enemies to overcommit, make mistakes, or reveal themselves further. In this way, patience multiplies your advantage. It is the quiet buildup of power that remains unnoticed until the decisive moment. Mastering your reactions also means embracing strategic detachment. This is the ability to separate your sense of self from external chaos. When people insult you, betray you, or attempt to manipulate you, a detached mind can see the truth clearly. Their actions reflect their character, not yours. You no longer take things personally, which frees you to act with precision rather than impulse. The power of quiet dominance lies in invisibility. When others underestimate your capabilities because you remain calm and measured, you gain the freedom to operate without interference. You observe without pressure, prepare without exposure, and maneuver without detection. The moment to strike comes when the conditions maximize impact. It is not about confrontation for the sake of ego. It is about calculated action that secures control, influence, or victory. In practice, this can mean exposing betrayal at the perfect moment, seizing an opportunity that others have overlooked, or acting decisively in a situation where everyone else hesitated. The key is that when you act, it is complete. There is no half measure, no reactive improvisation. Every move is intentional, precise, and devastating in its efficiency. This quiet mastery also creates a psychological edge. Those around you, especially those who attempted to undermine you, become disoriented. They cannot predict your actions, and this uncertainty generates fear and hesitation. People miscalculate because they assume you will act impulsively like everyone else, but you operate with foresight. Mastery over reactions is also a form of self-protection. When you refuse to react in anger or frustration, you deny others the power to manipulate your emotions. You control the narrative, you control the energy in the room, and you control the outcome. At the same time, this mastery fosters opportunity. Every situation, betrayal, or attack becomes data. You collect information, analyze patterns, and create strategies that turn potential threats into leverage. Those who lash out immediately waste energy and reveal vulnerabilities. You convert the same circumstances into power. Finally, winning quietly but completely is the culmination of all these skills. It is the ability to emerge victorious without spectacle, without unnecessary conflict, and without alerting your enemies until it is too late. They may have plotted, underestimated, or doubted you, but your careful observation, strategic calculation, and disciplined restraint ensure that when the moment arrives, the outcome is inevitable, total, and irreversible. This is the essence of Machiavellian mastery, the ability to move unseen, control perception, and dominate the board while everyone else plays openly, exposing themselves to defeat. Those who master their reactions are not only difficult to defeat, they are nearly impossible to anticipate. They turn every betrayal, every attack, every doubt cast upon them into fuel for their rise, and they do so in silence, invisibly, until the point of execution arrives,